Om Sai Ram, children. This is Paati. I have a story for you. The name of the story is Flossie, the Farm Dog and the Flood. One morning, Farmer Jim walked out of his house and over to the tall trees in his backyard, where his faithful farm dog Flossie was sleeping in her kennel. As soon as Flossie heard the farmer's footsteps, she came out of her cozy, warm kennel. She had a big stretch and then ran over to him with her tail wagging. "Good morning, Flossie," said the farmer, as he patted Flossie on the head. "Today is market day, so I must drive into town to buy food and petrol." Flossie was used to Farmer Jim going to the market each week, so she followed him to the back door, where he fed her a big dish of food. Farmer Jim then climbed into his farm truck and drove out into the main road, and he was soon out of sight. Flossie sat on a mat at the front door of the house. She knew her job that day was to be a guard dog. It was winter time, and dark clouds were rolling across the sky above. Suddenly it began to rain, softly at first, then the heavy downpour started. It continued to rain and rain and rain. All morning it rained, and the sun was nowhere to be seen. Flossie jumped up on a chair, as the mat on the front veranda was now covered with water. She looked out the front lawn and across the main road, but all she could see was water. Water everywhere. By now, Flossie was feeling afraid, and she wished Farmer Jim would return in his truck, but there was no sign of him. Things started to float past her in the water. She saw a bucket, a ladder, some rope, all this being swept away in the moving water or current. The rainstorm had been so strong that it had caused a flood. The water kept rising and soon reached the chair where Flossie sat. Luckily, Farmer Jim kept an apple juice barrel on the front veranda. This apple juice barrel was empty, and as Flossie jumped up to sit on it, it began to float away from the house. It floated out into the farm paddocks. On and on it went, tossing here and there as the surging flood swept it along. Flossie knew she would be safe if she stayed on top of the barrel, thinking to herself, "I must have faith in God, and I know that God is take care of me and that someone will come to save me." She kept floating on past treetops where many birds had gathered to rest and shelter. It seemed like a long time she had gone. When Flossie looked over to the house high up on a hill, she saw someone run down to the water's edge, jump into a rowboat, and started rowing in her direction. Flossie breathed a sigh of relief, thinking, "I knew God would send someone to rescue me." Before long, the boat reached her. "Jump into the boat," said the kind man. "You will be safe now." Flossie did not need to be asked twice. As quick as a wink, she leapt off the apple juice barrel and sat shivering and dripping wet in the little rowboat. "Good girl. Here, let me wrap this warm towel around you to dry you off," smiled the kind man. "We will have you home in no time." Soon Flossie was sitting in front of a warm fire, eating a tasty dish of food. Then she fell fast asleep. Next morning, the kind man woke up and went to see how Flossie was doing. To his surprise and delight, he saw her surrounded by beautiful little puppies that had been born during the night. "You were saved just in time," said the kind man, as Flossie wagged her tail. The next day, the kind man read a lost dog advert in the paper, and then he returned Flossie to Farmer Jim. And Farmer Jim was so excited that he promised one of the baby puppies, when they grow up, to give it to the kind man. So now everybody was happy and lived happily too. So the lesson here is we must learn to have faith in God. When we are in a difficult situation and we need someone to come and help us, we need to pray to God. We also need to have patience while we wait for help to arrive. Therefore, it is important to have a strong mind so we can think clearly. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you for listening and goodbye.